Hey everybody, and welcome back to Sip and Talk. All right, everyone, cheers to another week and another deep dive.
Absolutely. Let's get into it.
But first, got to tell you about this landscaping project. My neighbor decided to start at 6 a.m. on a Saturday.
6 a.m. on a Saturday?
Yeah, who knew that?
Some people, I swear, no respect for a good sleep-in. You know what I did this week, though?
What's that?
Locked myself out of my apartment.
Oh, no.
In my pajamas.
No way.
Yeah, had to call the super wearing my bunny slippers.
Oh my gosh, I think you win for most awkward moment this week.
Yeah, I think so.
So speaking of awkward moments and figuring things out, it's time for today's deep dive.
Yeah.
Growing up in society.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Yeah, it's a universal struggle, isn't it?
Definitely. We're all just trying to find our place in the world.
Exactly. So let's start with something basic. Why do we even want to be successful?
Good question.
Is it like hardwired into us, this need to achieve things? Or is it society telling us we got to be successful?
Well, there's that whole Maslow's hierarchy of needs thing, right? We need food, shelter, and all that.
Yeah, the good old pyramid of needs.
And then we crave things like belonging and feeling good about ourselves.
So success helps with that.
I think so in a lot of ways.
But doesn't that mean that success is like already defined for us?
How do you mean?
Like there's this checklist, get a degree, get the job, get the house, and then bam, you're successful.
Well, there's definitely pressure from society to do all that stuff.
Totally. Capitalism loves that whole idea of the successful person.
Right. Always got to be striving for more, always got to be buying more.
And then there's social media. This fuels that whole comparison game.
Ugh. Just don't even get me started on that.
Everyone's posting their highlight reels, you know?
Makes you feel like you're not doing enough.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
Totally. It's like we're stuck in this cycle, always wanting what we don't have, always comparing ourselves to others.
And feeling inadequate.
Exactly.
You know what I realized, though?
It's that.
Even when you achieve those big success milestones, it doesn't always equal happiness.
You're telling me.
I remember this one time I was obsessed with getting promoted.
Oh.
It's all I could think about. And when I finally got it, there was a moment of excitement. But then
what?
It was right back to the grind. Chasing the next thing, I didn't even stop to enjoy the moment.
It's like we're all on this treadmill going nowhere.
Seriously. And you know what's funny?
What?
Success is so subjective.
What do you mean?
What success means to one person could be totally different for someone else.
Right. Like for some people, it's all about money.
Yeah. And for others, it might be about making a difference in the world.
Or being creative.
Exactly. So whose definition of success are we even chasing?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Like, are we living for ourselves, or are we just trying to fit into some mold that society created?
Makes you think.
It really does. It's like, are we all just puppets in this game of societal expectations?
Well, maybe not puppets exactly.
But we're definitely influenced by the strings.
That's a good way to put it.
So if we're all chasing this idea of success, it makes you wonder at what cost.
Yeah. What happens when that pursuit starts to take its toll on us?
That's what I want to talk about next.
Yeah. That's the thing with pressure, right?
What do you mean?
It can be so stressful.
Oh, tell me about it. I swear my to-do list is a mile long.
Seriously.
But doesn't a little pressure help us get things done?
That's interesting.
Like, think about athletes.
Oh, yeah.
They perform best under pressure.
It's like this weird thing with pressure.
Yeah.
It can be a good thing or a bad thing.
Like too much of it and you just freak out.
Totally. But a little bit can really motivate you.
There's actually a law for that, right?
What, the Yerkes-Dodson law?
Yeah, that's it.
It says that there's this sweet spot for pressure.
Oh, yeah.
Too little and you don't care enough.
And too much and you just can't function.
Exactly.
So it's not about eliminating pressure completely.
No way.
Just managing it.
Finding that perfect amount.
But how do you even do that? Life can be so unpredictable.
Well, some people are just naturally better at handling pressure.
Oh, yeah. Like some people just roll with the punches.
It's like they get stronger when things get tough.
Like those anti-fragile things you were talking about.
Exactly.
So instead of getting stressed, we should try to see challenges as opportunities to grow.
I think so. It's all about perspective.
That's a good point. But what about when it's more than just a challenge?
What do you mean?
Like when it feels like everything is falling apart?
Oh, yeah.
How do you deal with that without losing it?
It's tough for sure. I think it's important to have a good support system.
Yeah. Like people you can talk to?
Friends, family, maybe even a therapist.
It helps to know you're not alone in those moments.
Absolutely. Sometimes you just need someone to listen.
So we've talked about pressure being both good and bad.
It's definitely a double-edged sword.
And how success can mean different things to different people.
It's all relative, right?
But what about our own sense of self?
What do you mean?
Like, where does that fit into all of this?
Ooh, good question. One of the sources brought up something interesting.
What's that?
Can making yourself comfortable ever truly be done without making someone else uncomfortable?
That's deep.
It made me think about how we interact with society.
Yeah. Like, are we always going to step on someone's toes trying to get what we want?
It's tricky because we all have to coexist somehow.
Right. So how do we even know when we're making someone uncomfortable in the first place?
Well, there's this idea called the harm principle.
Oh, yeah. Like, you can do whatever you want as long as you're not hurting anyone.
Exactly. It's your freedom to swing your arm until it hits my nose.
So, like, blasting music at 2 a.m. is probably crossing the line.
Probably. Yeah. It's all about finding that balance.
Between our own freedom and respecting other people's freedom.
Right. But here's where it gets tricky.
What's that?
What if someone's discomfort is based on, like, prejudice?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Like someone being uncomfortable with a same-sex couple holding hands.
Exactly. That's not about actual harm.
It's just bias.
Right. So then there's this other idea called the minimal harm principle.
Okay, what's that one?
It's like weighing the potential for real harm against just making someone uncomfortable.
Interesting. So we have to think about the impact of our actions.
Yeah. But also be willing to challenge things that are just based on prejudice.
Man, this is complicated.
It is. There's a lot to consider.
So basically, we got to be true to ourselves, but also be aware of how our actions affect others.
And be willing to have those tough conversations about what's right and wrong.
Okay. So to sum it all up,
Yeah.
success doesn't have to mean the same thing to everyone.
And it doesn't have to come at the expense of our own well-being.
We can challenge societal expectations while still being mindful of others.
And remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
We're all figuring this out together.
One step at a time.
Cheers to that. All right, everybody, welcome back. We're going to dive into our final topic.
For this Sip and Talk series.
Yes, personal growth.
Ooh.
You guys know this is a huge GE topic, so we're going to tackle it.
From a couple different angles today.
Yeah, we've got some great listener-submitted material to work with.
We do.
And we're going to be using Mindset, the new psychology of success,
By Carol Dweck.
as our launching pad.
That's right.
And let me tell you, this book
Yeah.
sparked some
Serious debate.
serious debate between us.
Absolutely.
But before we get into that,
Okay.
quick shout out
Yes.
to our friend Micky
Yeah.
over at Mickytolife on YouTube.
Love that guy.
If you're into travel whiskey and some seriously deep conversations, definitely check him out.
For sure.
Okay, back to Mindset.
Yeah.
The whole book basically hinges on this idea of fixed.
Growth mindset.
Right. It's all about how you view your abilities.
Own talents.
So a fixed mindset is like, I'm either good at something or I'm not. I can't
Yeah.
change.
And then when you hit a roadblock,
You just give up.
you're like, nope, not meant for me.
Moving on.
I think we've all been there at some point.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I remember when I was learning to play guitar,
Oh, here we go with the guitar story again.
it's relevant.
Yeah.
I was so frustrated when I couldn't get a certain chord right that I almost quit.
Okay.
But then I thought, wait a minute, I can learn this. It just takes practice.
Uh-huh.
That was a real shift to a growth mindset for me.
See, that's what I love about this book.
Yeah.
It gives you actual strategies for changing your mindset.
Yeah.
Like instead of saying, I'm terrible at math, you say, I haven't mastered math.
Yeah,
Not
that
even.
yet is crucial.
Yes,
It opens up the possibility of improvement.
it does. Dweck talks about this study where they praise kids for either their intelligence or their effort.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And guess what?
What?
The kids who were praised for effort ended up performing better.
In the long run.
Yes, it's fascinating, right?
It's amazing.
It shows how powerful our beliefs about ourselves can be. Totally.
Mm.
But here's where things get a little tricky for me.
Okay.
The book got me thinking about this whole living in the moment thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we're always being told to be present, to enjoy the journey, not just the destination.
Mindfulness is huge these days.
Yeah. But how do you square that with having goals,
Right.
with striving for something in the future?
Uh-huh.
Doesn't that take you out of the present moment?
I see your point. It's almost like you're being pulled in two different directions.
Exactly. So which is it?
Yeah.
Do we focus on the present or the future? Are we supposed to just float along aimlessly, or are we striving for some grand achievement?
I don't think it has to be in either situation. I think it's more about finding a balance. Like, you can be working towards a goal while still appreciating the journey.
Okay, listen, give me an example.
Right.
How does that actually work?
Think about training for a marathon. You have the ultimate goal of crossing that finish line, right? But you're also experiencing all these smaller wins and challenges along the way. You're building endurance, maybe discovering new running routes, connecting with other runners.
Yeah, okay, I see what you mean. It's not just about that one moment of glory at the end.
Exactly. And I think that's where the growth mindset comes in.
Okay.
You're embracing the challenges, the setbacks, the learning process as part of the journey itself.
All right, so we've tackled mindset.
Yeah.
But now I want to zoom out and get a little philosophical. This book really got me thinking about the bigger picture. Like, what's the point of all this personal growth anyway?
Well, you didn't waste any time getting to the existential questions, did you?
Hey, it's what keeps me up at night. Seriously, though, is there even a point to life? Are we just spinning around on this giant rock for no reason?
Wow. Okay, let's unpack that. I think there are a few different ways to look at it. You've got the classic goal-oriented perspective. You know, achieve great things, build a family, leave your mark on the world.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was raised to believe. Get good grades, get a good job, buy a house, the whole 9 yards.
Right, but then you've got the existentialists who say, nah, man, we create our own meaning. Like, there's no inherent purpose. It's up to us to decide what matters.
I kind of like that it's empowering. Like, we're not just pawns in some cosmic game.
Exactly, but then you've got the nihilists who are like, nope, there's no meaning at all. We're all just going to die anyway, so why bother?
Oof, that's a bit dark. I've definitely had my nihilistic phases, though.
We all have. And then you can look at it from a purely biological standpoint. Our main drive is to survive and reproduce. That's kind of the point from an evolutionary perspective.
So basically, we're just sophisticated monkeys trying to keep the species going.
In a nutshell, yeah.
It's funny, though, because I've gone through phases where I was laser focused on achieving specific goals. Like, I had to get that promotion, I had to buy that car, whatever it was.
And how did that feel?
Exhausting.
Yeah.
Like, I was always chasing the next thing. But then there have been other times where I've just been more focused on enjoying the moment, you know, spending time with loved ones, exploring new things, just being present.
And which felt more fulfilling?
Honestly, both had their moments. But it's like there's this weird tension between wanting to achieve things and just enjoying the ride.
I think that tension is totally normal, and it kind of ties back to that pain and pleasure seesaw we were talking about earlier.
Right. Our brains are wired for change. So even when we achieve something amazing, that feeling eventually fades. It's like we get a hit of dopamine, but then we need another one.
It's like we're always chasing that high, but it never lasts. And then we start focusing on what we don't have, what we haven't achieved, which just makes us feel worse.
So how do we break that cycle? Do we just have to accept that we're always going to be a little bit dissatisfied?
I don't think so. I think the key is to find fulfillment in the process itself, to appreciate the small wins, the daily joys, the connections we make along the way.
Easier said than done, right?
Absolutely. But it's a practice. It's about shifting our focus from the outcome to the journey.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? Give me some practical tips here. I'm all about actionable advice.
Well, for one, I think it's important to cultivate gratitude, like actually taking the time to appreciate what we do have, the people in our lives, the experiences we've had.
I can get behind that.
And then maybe it's about setting intentions rather than rigid goals. Like, instead of saying, I have to lose 10 pounds, maybe it's more about, I want to feel healthier and have more energy.
That's a good distinction.
Yeah.
It's about the why behind the goal, not just the number on the scale.
Exactly. And I think it's also about finding joy in the everyday moments, like really savoring that cup of coffee, that conversation with a friend, that walk in nature.
Okay, I'm getting all zen over here.
It's all about finding those little things that bring you joy and making them a part of your daily life.
All right, so we've covered mindsets, the meaning of life, the pursuit of happiness. Now, I want to talk about something that's been on my mind a lot lately. How do we balance personal freedom with considering other people's feelings?
Oh, it's a tricky one.
Because on the one hand, you want to live your life authentically, make choices that feel right for you, but you also don't want to be a jerk and just disregard everyone else's feelings.
It's a constant dance, isn't it? Trying to figure out where your boundaries end and someone else's begin.
Totally. Like, take the whole smoking versus non-smoking thing. Back in the day, people could just light up wherever they wanted. But then we learned about secondhand smoke. And now it's pretty much banned everywhere.
Right, and that sparked a whole debate about individual rights versus public health.
Because smokers might say, hey, it's my body, my choice. But non-smokers are like, hold on, Your choice is affecting my health. I have a right to breathe clean air.
It's a classic example of how our personal choices can have an impact on others, and it brings up the question, how do we navigate that responsibly?
Right. Because sometimes it feels like people get offended by the smallest things these days. Like, I knew this guy who would get mad if you wore the color yellow around him.
Okay, maybe that's a bit extreme, but I see your point. Not every preference deserves to be treated as a boundary that others have to respect.
Exactly. So where do we draw the line? How do we know when someone's discomfort is a legitimate concern versus just them being overly sensitive?
I think the minimal harm principle can be a helpful framework here.
Oh, I remember you mentioned that earlier. Remind me what that means again.
Basically, you're free to do whatever you want as long as it doesn't harm others.
Okay, that makes sense. But who gets to decide what constitutes harm?
That's where things get tricky. It's not always black and white, and different cultures have different ideas about what's acceptable behavior.
Oh, good point.
Like in the U.S., freedom of speech is considered almost sacred. You can say pretty much whatever you want, even if it's offensive to some people.
But in other cultures like Japan, social harmony is much more important. People are more careful about saying things that could cause others to lose face.
So context matters, intent matters, and sometimes it's about finding a compromise.
So what does all this have to do with personal growth?
I think it's about developing a sense of empathy and awareness. It's about recognizing that our actions have an impact on others and taking responsibility for that.
It's like personal growth isn't just about focusing on ourselves. It's also about how we interact with the world around us.
Exactly. It's about becoming more conscious, more compassionate, more connected to the people and the communities we're a part of.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground today. From mindsets to the meaning of life to the complexities of navigating personal freedom. My brain is officially fried.
Mine too. But that's what we aim for here at Sip and Talk.
Yeah, leaving our listeners with more questions than answers.
And hopefully some food for thought to chew on with that next sip of your drink.
Speaking of drinks, we got to take a quick break, but stick around because when we come back, we're going to dive into the mind-blowing world of technology and how it's shaping the very idea of self. Okay, we are back. And you know what?
What?
This is the final frontier
Ooh.
of personal growth. Get ready, because things are about to get meta.
Literally.
Literally.
Oh.
We're talking about the metaverse
Yes.
and the crazy ways technology
That's changing.
is changing how we see ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got these virtual worlds where you can create avatars, live out fantasies, basically become whoever you want to be.
Right.
It's mind-blowing, but also kind of makes you wonder, what happens to our real selves in all this?
I know. It's like, is the metaverse just an escape from reality, or is it an opportunity to explore different facets of our personalities that we might not express in our everyday lives?
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Like maybe your metaverse avatar is super outgoing and adventurous, even if you're kind of shy in real life.
Exactly. And that could actually bleed over into your offline life, helping you become more confident and outgoing in real-world situations.
Okay, I'm starting to see the potential here.
Yeah.
But what about the darker side of all this?
Right.
Like, what if we become so obsessed with our virtual lives that we neglect our real-life relationships and responsibilities?
That's definitely a valid concern. And then there's the whole issue of manipulation.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what if these tech companies are using algorithms to exploit our vulnerabilities and keep us hooked on these platforms?
Right? I mean, they're already tracking our every move online.
Yeah.
What's to stop them from using that data to manipulate our emotions and influence our behavior?
It's a bit like that sci-fi movie Ready Player One, where everyone's escaping into this virtual world because the real world is so messed up.
It's a scary thought.
It is.
But then again, maybe technology can also be a tool for good. Like, what if it can help us connect with people from all over the world and break down cultural barriers?
That's the optimistic view, and I think it's important to hold on to that possibility, but it's also on us as individuals and as a society to ensure that technology serves our growth rather than controlling us.
Okay, so we've got virtual worlds, and then we've got AI, which is getting so good at predicting our thoughts and behaviors that it's kind of freaky.
Yeah, it's like AI is becoming a mirror to our own subconscious,
Right.
and that can be both illuminating and unsettling.
Totally. Like, what if AI starts telling us what to do, what to think, who to date? Are we going to be so reliant on these algorithms that we lose our own sense of agency?
It's a slippery slope for sure, and it raises some really fundamental questions about what it means to be human in an age of increasingly sophisticated technology.
So where do we go from here? How do we navigate this brave new world and stay true to ourselves in the process?
I think it starts with awareness. We need to be aware of the potential pitfalls of technology and make conscious choices about how we use it.
Right, like setting boundaries, limiting our screen time, being mindful of the information we consume.
Exactly. And I think it's also about cultivating our own inner compass, developing a strong sense of self that can withstand the constant barrage of external influences.
So it all comes back to personal growth.
Yeah, I think so.
Even in the face of mind-bending technology, it's still about figuring out who we are and what matters to us.
Absolutely. It's about finding that sweet spot between embracing the possibilities of technology and staying grounded in our own humanity.
Wow. Okay. We've covered so much ground today.
I know.
Mindsets, the meaning of life, ethical dilemmas, the metaverse, AI.
Yeah, it's a lot.
My brain is officially overloaded. But hey, that's what Sip and Talk is all about, right?
Pushing the boundaries, exploring new ideas, and hopefully leaving you with a few things to ponder over that next drink.
Exactly. And you know what, listener? We want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on all this? Does technology freak you out, excite you, or a little bit of both? Hit us up in the comments. We always up for a good philosophical debate. But for now, that's a wrap for today's Sip and Talk.
That's it.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into personal growth. Remember, it's a journey, not a destination, and you get to define what that journey looks like for you. Keep sipping, keep talking, and keep growing. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.